We have some major breaking news as it's expected to be announced that Kyle Larson will be granted a playoff waiver. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. As I just said a second ago, we got some pretty major breaking news as it was reported by Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck saying news. NASCAR is expected to grant Kyle Larson a playoff waiver with an announcement expected on Tuesday very shortly, according to Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. We are finally free of this situation. Now, why is Kyle Larson needing a playoff waiver? Remember, Kyle Larson did not make a lap in this year's Coca-Cola 600 as he ran the Indianapolis 500 this year where he finished in 18th. But he got on a plane to Charlotte and got to the track around lap 250 and never got inside the car. According to NASCAR's rules, you are required to start the race and you have to run every single points paying race unless it's authorized by NASCAR. And I think NASCAR absolutely made the right decision here. And it took a long time for them to make the decision, but I do believe they made the right decision here to finally grant Kyle Larson a waiver. It would have made no sense to not grant Kyle Larson a waiver. And here's why it would have made no sense. We've given out waivers to drivers like Chase Elliott, who, yes, he had a medical situation, but he also got a waiver for being suspended, and that was announced a day after. Then we had Matt Kenseth get a waiver for missing the first 4 races. He had no intentions of running the season, but Chip Ganassi wanted to drive, and he also called up Carl Edwards at one point to drive in the C, and Carl would have probably gotten a waiver had he returned. We've also gave a waiver to Johnny Sauter, who also intentionally ran to Austin Hill in Iowa in 2019. And they've given waivers to drivers for a lot of different reasons. Medical emergencies, Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch has gotten a waiver for what happened in 2015 with the legal stuff. Tony Stewart got a waiver in 2014, also got a waiver then. We've been giving out waivers a lot in the last 10 years, and a big reason for that is because of the playoff format. You're required to run all 26 points paying races before the playoffs start, and if you don't run all of them, you have to request a waiver. There's only 4 times in the history of the Cup Series, or NASCAR altogether, where we've seen drivers not granted a waiver. One of those is Grant Enfinger. The other ones was sponsorship obligations or substance abuse issues. It would have made no sense for NASCAR to not grant Kyle Larson a waiver. And because of how much they promoted this, and I get that the competition side of things is completely different than the producing side of things. Basically doing all the social media stuff, it's a lot different. But at the same token, same time, as much as they promoted the double and worked with them on it, it would have made no sense. Now, we didn't know exactly when they sent in the waiver. I think a lot of people are thinking it was on Wednesday or Thursday. If they waited that long, that is a long time to wait. And this is probably the longest time we've waited for a waiver to be granted, because usually all the waivers, like the ones for Eric Jones and Chase Elliott, have been granted within a day or 2 days after. This waiver announcement kind of came out on Thursday that they sent it in, and the fact they are granting Kyle Larson a waiver, I'm really happy about that. Imagine telling fans, especially newer fans, that Kyle Larson, who is second in the points right now, 21 points below Denny Hamlin, imagine telling him that he would not have been eligible to be in the playoffs despite already having 2 wins this year. That would have been very, very confusing. But not only that, you would have a lot of fans that would be very upset and pissed off. The Kyle Larson fans would be very, very unhappy, like myself. I would still watch NASCAR, would not leave the sport, but I would be very unhappy. And Kyle Larson would have had the option to basically go and run in a different motorsport. He could have left NASCAR if he wanted to, because I know he said he wouldn't change anything, but I guarantee he would have gone and ran in the high limit series and not came back to NASCAR for the rest of the year. Because what's the point? You're not competing for a championship. I get you're going for an owner's points championship, but it would have made no sense. And you not only would have had him really pissed off, but you have a lot of Kyle Larson fans mad. Kyle Larson, there's a really good chance this year of how popular he's gotten this year. There would be a really good chance and possibility that he would win the most popular driver award, which the last time a non-Elliott or Earnhardt won the most popular driver award, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was 1990 or something when Darrell Waltrip won the most popular driver award. So there's a good chance that could end up taking place. And I think if you would have done this, this would have hurt NASCAR in a major and big way. And not to mention, NASCAR made the decision to call the race early. Kyle Larson, like I said, had already gotten to Charlotte. He was at the racetrack, ready to go to get into the race car. And if they had not granted him this waiver because of NASCAR's incompetency, because they called the race for humidity, a lot of people said the track was dry that was there. Even Denny Hamlin said they're about 15, 20 minutes away for getting back in the car. And yeah, I get that Hendrick kind of lied and said I know they had said their priority was the Coke 600 and they lied to NASCAR. But guess what? If you put as much time and effort as Kyle Larson had on the Indy 500 and you promoted it as much as they had, I'm sorry, if you denied Kyle Larson this opportunity, it would have made no sense. It also would have stopped the possibility of a lot of drivers doing the double. It's no secret that a lot of drivers want to do the double, run the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 on the same day. Kyle Busch wants to do it next year. We know that Joseph Newgarden is interested in doing the double. We know Ryan Blaney, Scott McLaughlin are interested, and we know for a fact I think SVG is a little interested in doing it. We know Trackhouse has had some conversations, and we know that Justin Marks also spoken to Denny Hamlin about that. It would have made no sense whatsoever to deny that opportunity come into play. It was good for motorsports. I get that the Coke 600 ratings were down because Indy 500 was going on at the same time, but look at the Indy 500 TV ratings from this past year. I think it was like 6.5 or like 4.5 million people on average tuned in or something like that. I think 5.1. And yes, it was more than the Coke 600, and I get that they sound like a second fiddle. And if Kyle Larson had ran, let's say, like a high limit race or dirt race outside of the U.S. or whatever, yeah, that's a different story. But this is the Indianapolis 500. Sorry to say this, the Indy 500 is bigger than the Coca-Cola 600. And if he would have basically not run that, I would understand him not giving him a waiver. But Kyle Larson had every opportunity and shot. And again, it's not Kyle Larson's fault that the weather came into play. So I'm really glad that NASCAR has come to their senses, and I don't know why this really became such a big issue, why it took so long. This should have been granted a lot sooner, but at the same token, same time, I am very happy to see, like I said, that NASCAR was able to come to their senses and make the right decision and right call. I understand the argument. People saying he skipped Charlotte, which, by the way, like I mentioned, he had every intention of running the race. So I'm very happy to see this. I'm glad to see that NASCAR, like I said, has come to their senses and realized after some of the bad PR moves, after all the progress they've made to try to grow the sport, this would have undone all the progress that NASCAR has been able to make. Do you want fans being upset? No. Look at Indy 500 qualifying for this year. Those were up this year. Indy 500 qualifying had a big chunk in increase, like a 20% increase in ratings. And this year's All-Star race, which a lot of people from Indianapolis watch, by the way, that was up and to be the most watched All-Stars, I believe, since 2021. So it would have been a bad decision to not give him a waiver. And there's a lot of other reasons why. So I'm really happy, like I said, that NASCAR did finally come to their senses and they are granting Kyle Larson a waiver. It's the right decision. It's the right thing to do. And Kyle Larson now will once again have the chance and opportunity to compete for a championship against guys like Chase Elliott. And if Kyle Busch makes the playoffs, and I expect Kyle Larson will get all his playoff points back. Does NASCAR make a change to the waiver rule going forward? I could definitely see that going forward in the future. But if you're going to change the waiver rule, do it at the beginning of next year. And also, let's change the playoff format while we're at it. So, I'm very happy NASCAR did make the right decision, the right call, and very happy that they are going to grant Kyle Larson a playoff waiver. So, that is going to be today's special breaking news report. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Links goes below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are thoughts about Kyle Larson getting a playoff waiver? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we'll have NASCAR news. We'll discuss news over the course of the last couple of days. We'll also probably talk about the Kyle Larson waiver situation once again. I'm also glad we're done with that after tomorrow. And we'll also have a lot of other videos dropping this week as we get you set up for Sonoma. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.